Hi everyone, I wanted to do a video on Shopify SEO. I've been working with Shopify sites over the last year, probably just over a year, and it's been an interesting journey with Shopify. The first thing I'll say is Shopify sells itself as being an SEO friendly platform, which is half true and half not true. Uh, it has the ability to be SEO friendly. So it's been developed in a way to make it easier for people who have drag and drop sites to to build an SEO friendly site so they can rank well. However, the way that the site is pitched and the emphasis on the use of apps and additional plugins and injecting code and drag and drops, a lot of things can quickly make the site unfriendly for SEO, and people wonder why they struggle to get rankings with Shopify sites after they've been sold the promise of investing in Shopify to help improve their e-commerce rankings. And what they'll often find, unfortunately, is there's a lot more costs associated with Shopify sites to one, fix the SEO if it can be fixed, additional development, the use of apps and the fees associated with them. The cost can increase very rapidly, and then making that work with the e-commerce system that they have. So if the e-commerce site is doing large numbers, so in the hundreds of thousands to millions, it's something that can be afforded. But if it's, well, I'll be generous and say less than 100,000 in revenue a year, like those costs can really add up and it will eat the overheads. So you have to be careful when choosing a Shopify site. You need to make sure it's the right solution for the type of business that you plan to build in the e-commerce field, or even if it's just some other kind of web business. You can go with Shopify, but make sure it suits the business model that you're after, because if you invest in it in the wrong way, it can add up to be a very expensive overhead cost for your business. So I want to dive into the Shopify SEO. I've actually written a guide on Shopify SEO, so you can actually click the link. I'll put it in the description, and you can read all the tips that I've provided for optimizing a Shopify site, things to really keep in mind. And yeah, like I'm going to keep it updated. If you have any other questions, feel free to leave them in the comments on the blog or leave them in the comments in this video. So the first thing with Shopify sites, you have to get the technical SEO framework of the site right. The way Shopify presents itself is like an out-of-the-box solution, and it kind of is with its basic framework. But once you install the theme, like the theme can have a massive impact on the SEO success that you'll have when optimizing on Shopify and getting the visibility. You have to do the research to make sure that the code of the theme that you select is SEO friendly. And them just saying that it's SEO friendly, it's not enough, unfortunately. So the biggest thing I would really emphasize when you decide to go with Shopify is to look into a theme that is light, that has very friendly code, and the more simple, the better. It's very easy to get caught up with like a lot of moving images, like a lot of videos on your Shopify site. And don't get me wrong, it works for the experience, and it depends on the type of business model that you're going after and how you're going to generate the traffic. If you want to get the bulk of your traffic from SEO, you need to optimize the site for Google. So I'm just going to run through a list of some of the things that I've outlined as a part of my checklist. So one, the Shopify theme. Check the code, check the structure. If you aren't a web developer, hire a web developer or partner with a web developer or a technical SEO specialist that has the technical insights to read the code and to make sure that there's no additional code that's getting injected, uh, and that the way that the site has been developed isn't going to confuse like people when they're navigating through the site, and especially search engines. The there were some cases where where the theme actually injected so much code into the header. I think it was like 10,000 lines of code, and like nobody picked up on it. And the theme was sold as being SEO friendly. And what ended up happening was it prevented the search engine crawlers from being able to access the content. So the the search engine would go onto the site. We could see the code we could see the content on the front end. You couldn't see it in the back end. Search engine tried to crawl it, and the search engine bounced from the site. And they were wondering why they weren't getting the rankings and the traffic that they were expecting. Once we fixed that, we actually saw the rankings start to come back quite quickly for very competitive keywords. So yeah, it is something that you need to consider. The domain name hosting, not directly not impactful. It's not directly related to Shopify in all cases, but you might decide to host it with Shopify. Just whoever you decide to go with, just make sure that the solution is one that will load the site as quickly as possible. Check your SSL. Web hosting is with Shopify, so they tend to have a good network. So some of the setbacks I've seen is when the network goes down, then it affects your site. But generally, they're pretty good with keeping the uptime. The page size, this is probably one of the biggest issues I find with Shopify sites, because they tell you to just drag and drop and to upload anything. And if you need anything more, you can just get an app for it. All of these things, they bloat the page size, they bloat the website size, and it can cause more SEO issues. And you can't really try to fix something that's got a bad foundation. So if you need to get some kind of solution, try to get the solution in advance and try to build off a good, like clean, lean platform and foundation. Check the domain canonicals as well. I've had cases where the domain was hosted in Shopify, but then another version of it was hosted elsewhere, and then it was causing 404 errors. Things weren't redirected correctly. You just need to pay attention to detail and look at the way that your site is structured from the domain and server level, and also from like the hosting level, so how the web pages are created. XML sitemaps already automated. You can easily configure titles, meta descriptions. The site is generally mobile responsive, depending on the theme you choose. It's easy to optimize URLs generally, and you do have the option for AMP, but you normally need to have a plugin for that. You can probably work around it just by having a very good theme that's mobile friendly. And breadcrumbs are generally easy to implement as well. Need to use search engine friendly search boxes and forms. I really stress this, so make sure you test it. Unfortunately, with Shopify, you can't run any server log analysis because everything is hosted on their servers and they can't share that information with you. And it's the same with the robots text file. So you don't want the search engines to get lost in like any forms or like search engine boxes. Like keep it simple, keep it clean, and keep it easy to navigate. It's easy to do redirects, so check the redirections, especially if you're migrating from another site. It's unless you're migrating from another version of Shopify, it's very likely you're going to change the URLs, which means you might get a bit of a loss in terms of the authority that gets passed from your previous links, but hopefully it won't be too bad. Check the 404s, broken links, and get them fixed. Yeah, you can just do 301 redirects. I've not seen an option to do like 302s, and you cannot do any 410s, which tells search engines that it's gone. So there's some limitations with Shopify. You can do structured data, and I'd suggest to do it manually, uh, but you need to have some coding experience, or you can hire a coder. They can go into Liquid and like fix that for you. Orphan pages and the way that the site's navigation is set up, it can get very messy very quickly with Shopify, because you've got product categories, you've got collections, you've got pages. So you really need to think about how you're going to structure the site and how you're going to manage the site ongoing. And if you just keep on creating, for example, products after products, and they're not in a collection, or the products are set up as collections, uh, and your inventory changes quite a bit, you'll find that you'll get a lot of broken links, and it will cause you to focus a lot more time on repairing those broken links and just making sure the site doesn't get messy. So you want to allocate your resources in the best way possible so you can focus on getting better SEO results and getting more like profit and traffic. You don't really want to keep on spending your time focusing on uh, you don't want to spend your time focusing on just repairing the site all the time. So think about how you want to group your products on the site and how you want to present the web pages that's on the site. And then think about conversion rate optimization as well. Now, the other thing is content. So content really is king. So you need to get the content right so that when people get onto your Shopify site, they stay on there and then they engage with it. And then ideally they'll take some kind of action, whether that's a sign up or a purchase or whatever your goal might be. So make sure you know what the search keywords are for your market based on search intent. Do your research, find out where the demand is, come up with a strategy at a page level, and then create the content that will satisfy their curiosity gap, and that will motivate them to take the action that you desire. Create the content within the title, meta description, within the page. Ideally, go for long form content, but the way that it needs to be presented will depend on how you on the type of content that's needed for the page. So if it's a product page, you need to come up with a product page like pitch or structure or a template. If it's blog content, it's going to be different. If it's information pages, it's going to be different. So think about this before you actually roll it out into your site. Once you've got the content live, think about strategic internal links, make it easy for people to find and navigate like products and additional information. Optimize your images, make sure that the naming conventions are used, add keywords. Same thing for any videos, and be aware of the sizes of the images and the videos before you upload them. And once you've done that, you need to go and promote your site. Ideally, get as many links as possible. So work out who is the target audience. So if you're like, let's say, like a dog fan, and you're selling like pet or dog products, then you can easily go and find out what kind of content dog lovers will want to share. Create that content on your site in the form of blogs, videos, images, etc. And then simply share the links with them. You can even reach out to them, ask if you can contribute in some way, shape, or form, whether that's in the form of an interview, if it's in the form of a guest blog post as a contributor on their site. Yeah, there's several different ways, and then just make sure you get links back to the site. Once you do these, you should start to see a consistent impact. So just keep an eye on the traffic. Uh, the ranking should come, and you should start to see some more keyword visibility. You can go into the Google Search Console, and you should be able to see what keywords are uh, starting to become visible for the web pages that you published. You should start to see an uplift in organic search traffic. And if you're logged into Google Analytics, you should see an upward trend as well. As long as the upward trend is going in the right direction, you should start to see an impact on your leads, your revenue for your site. If it's not, revisit everything, tweak it, and see how you can improve. So yeah, if you do have any questions, please let me know. I will share the link to the Shopify SEO guide that I've written, and that's quite extensive. But if you do have any additional questions, feel free to contact me, and I'll be happy to answer. So I hope you found that helpful, and I'll speak to you next time.